This is a Louie Tee Network exclusive.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Louie Tee, host of the Louie Tee Network, and this is One Burning Question, a series that will take a look at all 32 teams in the National Football League and pose a question. Some teams will have micro questions where we look at the team in its current state and talk about what could potentially happen for them in this season. And some will take a macro approach where we kind of open up the lens a bit and take a step back and look at it from a wide view look and perspective and talk about where these franchises might be going in the future, not just this season, but moving forward. So I'll take a look at each and every single team, ask a burning question, answer that question, and move on to the next team. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy One Burning Question. Welcome to this In the Lab Room exclusive series, One Burning Question. I, of course, am your host, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me on this program. Today we're talking Baltimore Ravens, and their struggles this year have been documented. So this one burning question pertains to them this season and moving in to the next season and beyond. Are the injuries solely to blame for the Ravens' struggles this season, or is there a lack of talent? I looked at this Ravens team coming into the 2015 season, and I just said to myself, I'm underwhelmed by the skill positions on offense, and I don't think that this defense is where it needs to be for this team to contend. That being said, it's the Ravens. They have John Harbaugh as their head coach. Ozzie Newsome is their general manager. And in Ozzie, we all trust they're going to get it done. That was my mindset going into the season. Well, injuries started to take their toll on this football team immediately, losing tight end Dennis Pitta, losing all-world defensive end / outside linebacker Terrell Suggs. Not having your first round pick in Breshad Perriman did not help either. And all of a sudden, this team went from a potential player in the AFC North to just another team in the NFL. And so you look at this football team, are the injuries to blame for the struggles of this Baltimore Ravens team? There are a myriad of injuries that this team has suffered this season. I already talked about Dennis Pitta. I already talked about Terrell Suggs. I already talked about Steve Smith Sr., or I didn't talk about him. I talked about Breshad Perriman. Well, Steve Smith Sr., your only receiver that you relied on and really trusted out there to make plays, went down. And you were already struggling before he got injured. You look at all the injuries you've suffered to the tight end position. Some of your tight ends have been in and out of the lineup all season long. And so you've struggled along the offensive line. Eugene Monroe has been banged up this season. You've dealt with injuries at the running back position. This is a team that has been injured all over the field. Defensively, the secondary is always banged up and always a cause for concern. And so this is a team you look at and you say, is there enough talent on this team? We know that the depth has been tested this season, and they have not passed that test despite having a lot of close losses this season. They have not stood up to the bell that is injuries and the depth that is tested and necessary to get you through when you have injuries. Now, there are a rash of injuries that this team has sustained this season, but does this team have enough talent? Joe Flacco has went down. He's going to be out for a substantial amount of time. You're questioning as to whether he'll be ready to start next season because of how late his injury took place in this season. And so you ask yourself, does this team have enough next season to compete? because you look at the wide receiver position. Who knows what Bashad Perriman is as a football player? I thought he was okay in college, not great. He has some potential, but there were some drops issues, and you just don't know if this guy has what it takes to be a number one wide receiver. Now you're talking about an injury history that doesn't look very good right now because of him not playing this entire season. Steve Smith Sr. had already come into the season saying that this was going to be his last, but after the injury, I beg to differ. I believe that he'll be back for one more swan song, but we'll see. But outside of those two, who do you have at the wide receiver position? If you're talking tight end, I think they're locked and stocked at the tight end position. They've done a great job of offsetting the injury to Dennis Pitta by going out and drafting guys. You've got Gilmore, you've got a guy that you spent a second round pick on in Max Williams, and you also have Nick Boyle, so you feel good at the tight end position, which is one of those positions that Joe Flacco loves to hit in the passing game. At the running back position, you have to feel really encouraged about what you've seen out of Buck Allen in relief of Justin Forsett, who went down with a broken arm. And so you feel good about the running back position. We'll see what happens along the offensive line and if this team is able to fortify that position. We'll see what happens defensively, because I think this team needs to get more pressure on the quarterback. That is something that has been clearly apparent with the injury to Terrell Suggs. You still have Elvis Dumervil, but Elvis Dumervil is in the twilight years of his career. He's no longer the guy that was a young spring chicken in Denver, bagging quarterbacks at a 12 to 15 a year rate. And so you need to get a guy that you can trust down in and down out to win and get consistent pressure on the quarterback. You look at your secondary and you need a safety. You could use another corner. These are all needs that the Ravens have. How far are the Ravens away from contending? Are we just 1 year removed from them getting back into the fray next year with some healthy bodies? Or is this a team desperately in need of more talent? We shall see. So to recap for the Baltimore Ravens, are the injuries solely to blame for the Ravens' struggle this season, or is there a lack of talent on this football team? The future will tell the story for the Baltimore Ravens. We shall see. That's the Baltimore Ravens and their one burning question. I'm Louie Tee. See you next time.